That's good pizza.
Picasso's Pizza. We are Buffalo Pizza.
Come on, girl. We're going to miss the game.
Woo! Picasso.
Folks, how are we doing today? It is January 15th, and it is a Buffalo Bills game day. After delays, after storms, after worries, we are hearing things in Atlanta. The playoffs are finally here. It feels like 6 weeks ago we started this Picasso's playoff push, and that's because it was 6 weeks ago that we did. The Bills were dwindling around 10, 12, 14% to make the playoffs. But here they are as the 2 seed, and here they are as 10-point favorites over the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Picasso's playoff push has officially become the Picasso's Super Bowl push. And to bring in and to make that happen, we got our man, my man, your man, Jake Micah. Micah, the Super Bowl push, it's time to begin.
It's time to begin. I'm not saying the Picasso's playoff push helped the Bills get to where they needed to go and win these last 5 games and get to the playoffs, but it didn't hurt. That's for sure. It didn't hurt.
Seriously, it was a bumpy step out of the gate. I mean, we started doing it. We got the loss to the Eagles, but then all of a sudden, wins over the Chiefs, big win over the Cowboys, squeak one out over the Chargers. You beat the Patriots, and of course, you TCB. You take care of business against the Miami Dolphins. That's the reason that they're home in South Beach worrying about their offseason plans right now, and the Bills are focused about this next month. But let's get into it, Michael. Like we talked about, it's been craziness. It's obviously the entire playoff push was crazy, but we're into the NFL playoffs now. Crazy playoff weekend. A lot of blowouts, a lot of craziness on that field.
Yeah, there wasn't really a lot of what you would say good football games, but there was a lot of interesting football games the way they went out. I mean, CJ Stroud he arrived already, but really to do that on a playoff stage, doing it on the road this week in the division round is going to be a different story, but what a game against the best defense in the league. We see Saturday night, it was freezing temperatures. You got Taylor Swift copping swag surfing for herself. People are gonna think that Taylor Swift invented this now. It's craziness, but
do the Taylor
offense. Yeah, do the Taylor. The most surprising thing yesterday was, I guess not surprising, but pretty surprising to see how the Cowboys collapsed yesterday. It wasn't even close. It wasn't a heartbreaking collapse. It was just a beatdown and a failure from the start of that game. And then last night we finally got a classic, which everybody expected with that Rams-Lions game, with all the emotions that were going into that. Stafford coming back, battling through. I don't know how he was throwing the football with his thumb wrapped up in that nasty cut and everything else, but what a great game, and so happy for Lions fans. I was cheering for the Lions by the end of it because I was like, man, they can't go down like this the way it was coming down to it at the end.
Not only was it a classic, NFL playoff game by how it went down, but it was pretty classic by the way the hitting was going and the way it was called. There were a couple of calls that easily should have been 15-yard penalties.
Yeah, it was physical out there. It was a big some big hits going on. I mean, the Tyler Higbee hit across the middle is something you don't see anytime in the NFL nowadays. And there were some big plays going on out there. Puka Nacua on the losing side, one of the best performances I've ever seen in a playoff game. Yeah, so high-level football last night. Was happy to see the Lions get it done. But now we're finally here. The first ever triple doubleheader weekend of Super Wild Card weekend. We weren't expecting it, but hey, most people, if you're working today, hopefully you can get out early. Hopefully you got your phone at least propped up next to you when this game starts. But Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Bills, Steelers. What more could you ask for, Maniac?
And sometimes, you have I always think of when the WWE superstars were stuck in Saudi Arabia and they were forced to do that SmackDown with half the NXT roster, NWO then, and they did kind of the invasion. It was a great thing forced out of necessity. And I think that's what we're looking at again here with this situation. I think that there could potentially be triple double headers going forward in Wildcard Weekend if they could sync up with the holiday weekend, of course. And this was supposed to be our 4th 1 p.m. game of the year, but not meant to be, Michael, with the delays, the blizzard. I was curious how you saw all of that going down. Were you surprised at how it went down, or do you think it was kind of logical? And looking at it now as they're still snowing out, kind of was the sensible play?
Well, with the way I was looking at it is with the federal holiday today and everything else, the league they had the buffer day where today wasn't going to affect CBS and the league as much for the viewing habits. But that's what I was looking at it as. It's like CBS and the NFL is going to want 35 million people to watch this game. Like Bills Steelers are two of the most watched teams in the NFL. They always pop up top, the biggest ratings for these teams. And so, yes, yesterday in the 1 o'clock slot would have been ideal. Sunday afternoon, no one's doing anything. I kind of felt like a lost puppy yesterday, waiting around for all these games.
What 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. was kind of dark time yesterday.
I just had no idea what to do with myself or anything at all. But it works perfectly today. And I think that it was clearly was the smart move. We saw the weather reports. We were posting all the weather in Orchard Park and at the stadium. It wasn't playing conditions. It wasn't driving conditions, anything else. And as far as I know out there, it's looking a lot better this morning, looking a lot safer. The Steelers got in safely. Everything's looking good today. So it just made the most logical sense. And with the buffer day that they already had the Monday night game going on. Let's let it ride. Let's have another doubleheader day and let's see how it goes. Now, it's unfortunate that if the Bills get a win today, that they have to play on a short week, and the other team, we won't mention them yet, will have a 2 days rest. But hey, adversity comes your way. Sometimes you just got to power through, and that's been the story of this season for the Buffalo Bills. So why not add another wrinkle in once we get to the wild card round, right?
With all respect to Patrick, adversity is Josh Allen's middle name. So let's get into the middle of our Picasso Super Bowl push here. Brought to you by Picasso's Pizza, the best place to buy pizza in Western New York. Get to picassospizza.net to get the best deals on the best pizza in Western New York. Bread, sauce, cheese. Can't have pizza without it. Can't have a win without a couple of solid things you take care of. First, if you've watched this show, you know me, you need the strong start. You can't fall behind to this team. That's where they want. They want to play ahead. They want to be able to run, pass on offense. They want to be able to kind of neuter you on defense. You need a strong start. You need to score out the gate, especially compared with how they played last week, Mike. I would hate to say it, but that would be kind of a dream start for the Steelers. The Bills driving up and down the field, but not able to get points, similar to how it was versus the Miami Dolphins last week. So you need a strong start if you're the Bills. It's pretty simple. This is probably the most basic thing out of them all. Stop the run. The Steelers literally gashed the Ravens. They didn't have to do anything last week to kind of matriculate the offense down the field. Now, again, they didn't score many points, but the Ravens also didn't force many 3-and-outs. You got to force 3-and-outs. You got to force them into second and long, third and long. You got to stop the run on those early downs. And then Josh Allen, just stay within yourself. I think this is a game there, against the Steelers, against that defense, you might be tempted to do a little bit too much. Remember that your team is a 10-point favorite here. That is your team with the defense. That is your team with the special teams. That is your team with the running backs as well. So Josh, just be smart, make decisions. When the time comes to make a play, we all trust that Josh will do it. So just play within yourself. That's my bread, sauce, and cheese, Micah.
Hell yeah. I couldn't agree with all that stuff more. The strong start, especially, we saw last week, they did not listen to that one. And getting the stop, especially stopping the run on the early downs is going to be key with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. And that's part of my thing. First, up tempo. This Pittsburgh team is going to want to drag the Bills into the mud. They want a slow game. They want a game in the teens or the low 20s, low scoring, when the Steelers have the ball, they're going to take the clock down to about 10 seconds, 5 seconds every time and try to run the ball. The Bills need to push that tempo and make the Steelers uncomfortable and play at a pace that they don't want to play at. Disguising coverage. Mason Rudolph, he was 18 to 20 last week now, and for 152 yards. One of those was the long touchdown to Deontay Johnson. So really, he's not going to be trying to take a lot of chances downfield. So you need to take advantage of him, and the reason that he's playing right now and the reason that he's played the last 3 weeks and that the Steelers have been so effective is he has been safe with the ball and protected the ball. He hasn't thrown an interception yet. Tomlin just doesn't want him to make mistakes. So McDermott needs to kind of tempt Mason into taking chances that aren't actually there. And those corners need to take advantage of the secondary, and the corners need to take advantage of those mistakes and embrace the physicality. That's what the Steelers are going to try to do in this game. The Steelers are going to try to out physical the Bills. Now, the Bills are one of the most physical teams remaining in the field and in the NFL. That's been a thing that has kind of helped them go on this run, and the offensive line turnaround this year and how dominant the defensive line is. But the Steelers are up to that challenge. So you need to embrace the physicality of this matchup. I think it's going to be in the teens with probably wind chills in the single digits. So it's going to be a cold game, snowballs flying around everywhere. Embrace that. the Bills can win in multiple ways. We know they can win by throwing the ball all over the yard, but they can also win by dominating in the run game and in the trenches. So embrace that challenge against the Steelers, who, let's face it, that's what the Steelers, when you think of Pittsburgh Steelers football, you think about physical brand of football. And I think the Bills can take it to them today.
Listen, I'm not saying like the Steelers are a stepping stone. You got to beat the Steelers. You got to go 1-0 today before you can do anything else. But I like this matchup from what you're talking about, a physicality sense. I feel like this is kind of like a smelling salts to the Bills. They played the Patriots a couple weeks ago, played the Dolphins. Those really aren't your physical teams as far as what I've seen this year. So now the Steelers, to me, serve as kind of a smelling salts for these NFL playoffs and, more importantly, this Picasso Super Bowl push. With that said, let's go and see what we're pushing out in Orchard Park with our guy Carson with Carbs Corner.
Folks, welcome to Carbs Countdown, part of Trainwreck Sports pregame show, sponsored by Picasso's Pizza. We're currently about 2 miles away from the Bills Stadium, noon on a Sunday as of recording this. The weather itself is quite the joy, as you can see. But let's get in the keys to the game for Monday, 4:30, CBS. For Buffalo, we have to get a ground game going, whether it's Latavius Murray, if he plays, Ty Johnson, James Cook, even playoff Lenny. After all, it is playoffs, wild card weekend, like we said. And you have to contain Jalen Warren and Najee Harris on the ground game for Pittsburgh. Mason Rudolph, likely not much of a threat. Of course, it's going to be hard cutting through the wind. Josh Allen, we have to, we can't be afraid to let him rip it. That's key number 2, as you have to get the easy throws, some screens, and occasionally probably take a shot down the field to keep the defense honest for Pittsburgh. They're without T.J. Watt, and in games that they have not had T.J. Watt, they are 1-10. Josh Allen 3-1 against Pittsburgh, so a great opportunity here for Buffalo. As far as special teams go, you cannot make the big mistake, and you have to convert on field goals when needed. Conditions not going to be ideal, like we stated, as obviously can be told. Score prediction from Carv here, 21-3 Buffalo, as we'd advance and we'd play KC in the divisional. Jake and Maniac, back to you guys. Stay safe.
Okay, cool. I'll air it there, and then we'll come back on the other side.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, Carson, for that. Always colorful out in OP, and obviously this week is no different. Micah, let's get into it with our wild cards. We always think it's wild card weekend, so it's the perfect time to get into it with the Bills. Let's have you start this one out. Who are you looking at as a potential difference maker in today's game?
Today I got Jordan Poyer, because Jordan Poyer has been playing in the box a lot this year. He's playing almost a linebacker role on a lot of these downs where they'll play 3 safeties, and he's coming down and playing with Terrell Bernard, and they're going to need him in that run game. I think the Pittsburgh's going to look to run the ball when there is a light box, and Jordan Poyer is going to need to, again, embrace that physicality and be a run-stuffing linebacker today. And he's done a good job of it all year, but I think this is going to be his biggest test, because it's going to be a lot of Jalen Warren, a lot of Najee Harris, and I think Poyer steps up, but he's my wild card for the day. What do you got?
My wild card is part the role that this player plays, and part that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get out of him, a la Charizard in Pokemon. It is Daquan Jones. Big Daddy Daquan returned to the lineup 2 weeks ago. I feel like we have been doing a little bit better against the run game since then. We weren't getting gouged by Miami last week. We were forcing 3 and outs in the second half. So obviously the whole defense goes into that, but love to see Daquan back. And this is, to me, a big part of hopefully not letting the Steelers continuously run down your throats on them. There are a lot of, off-tackle runs, things like that. I'm hoping that Daquan is going to be able to plug out that middle and kind of disrupt that Pittsburgh Steelers game plan. Speaking of disrupting, we're looking to disrupt the financial status of our fans here watching the Picasso Super Bowl push. We got our same game parlays for this one. I'm going to go a little bit outside the box. Let's see if this will cover me up or if we got to go. Okay, cool. So we got, for me, Bills -10, James Cook touchdown, and Dalton Kincaid touchdown. Now, I want to say something real quick. Just because I'm saying the touchdowns, I could still see this game going under the 38.5. Mm-hmm. I could see this easily happening 24-13, 24-14, 24-10, 23-10 with these touchdown scores. But I do see the Bills not cruising, but relatively easy game. I think the defense is going to be able to dominate the Steelers, and that's going to make things easy for the offense eventually, Micah. And hopefully we get things easy on our wall with this plus 1150 parlay.
I love this. I think James Cook and Dalton Kincaid are going to be active in this offensive game plan. They're going to try to take away Diggs and not let them beat him. A lot of bracket coverages. Joey Porter Jr. probably chasing him around the field, Minka Fitzpatrick over top. So who are the other guys that are going to step up? No Gabe Davis, obviously. Cook and Kincaid feel like the guys. We're aligned with this 10-point. I feel good about the -10 here for the Bills. And then I also have Allen rushing yards over 30.5 and Ty Johnson over 13.5. I think the Bills are just going to run the hell out of the ball. And I think that, like I said, embrace that physicality. Allen is going to finally be unleashed fully as a weapon in this game, have a couple scrambles to get him around, probably around like 45, 50 yards rushing. I'm not thinking it's like a 100-yard rushing game, but I think over that 38.5. And Ty Johnson, he's going to get that. He's going to have, 6 carries for 30 yards, something like that. I think 13.5 is a little low. I think they're counting for him not getting a lot of usage in this game with this line, but I think Ty Johnson will have plenty of opportunities to run the ball. But I'm in line with you. I almost had the under on this too. I think you said it, 24-10 is my score prediction for this game. I think that's exactly where we end up. The Bills defense, if things go right, the Steelers offense should be anemic today. Like, there's nothing about Mason Rudolph that should scare you if you're a Bills defense with the way the secondary and the D-line has been playing. So if you can just shore up the run game, it's going to give the offense a lot of more opportunities this game. So I feel good about that under 2 and right around that 10, like 21-10, 24-13, something like that feels like the right score for this game. So I'm not afraid of that big spread.
Yeah, I like that line. I like right where you're at. I think it's a 23-10, 23-13 maybe game for sure. So I think you're right on. By the way, oops, same game parlays. That's my bad. I pulled up the screenshot from Action Network, which is a bunch of bums. They're only giving plus 547. Micah says you can get plus 611 and some spots. So make sure you're shopping around and getting the best line there. But with that said, so we got our predictions. Is any final thoughts before we sign off here? Anything? Are you nervous at all? The last time we played a playoff game at Orchard Park, it was a slow start. We didn't get out of the gate. We didn't function well. You think this team is different? You think this team is ready to go today?
I think they're ready to go. I do think that it's going to – I think that even though if we're predicting a 2-possession win, I think it's going to be close in the first half, maybe like a 10-7 first half, 10-6 first half, something like that. It has been the wild card games in Buffalo besides the perfect game, you look at the Colts game a couple years ago, was a close game, came right down to the wire. Last year, obviously, was way closer than we wanted with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. So this team has kind of played tight in these wild card spots, but this year feels so much different. Like the run that they've been on, playing with house money, winning the last 5 games to even get in this position. It's a cliche, but they've been playing football for a month now. So this is not new for them. But so have the Steelers. The Steelers were 7-7, basically dead in the water, won their last 3 games to get here too. So I think that the one thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers is they're going to come ready for a game, come ready for a fight. I just think they're outgunned and outmatched. And that's where the Bills are eventually going to be able to overpower them. So I expect a closer game in the first quarter. I think the Bills still come out to a strong start. I think the Steelers are able to run the ball a little bit to start. And then the adjustments that McDermott's able to make at halftime for that defense really seals the deal.
I like everything you're saying. I like especially the point you touched on about the vibe around the team right now, where they are at. Very similar to 2021 when they went on that run before the playoffs and they got to the level where a lot of people said that should have been the Super Bowl team. You know ball and college. So for me, being a Cuse guy, unfortunately, I gotta say this actually hurts my soul to say this. This run is shaping up and kind of reminds me a little bit. It's a little bit early, but of the Kemba Walker UConn run. From the Big East tournament on, they were a bubble team. So it was basically like they had to win every single time. They win and they go through the Big East tournament. And then by that point, you're playing your best. You're in that mode where you have to win every time. And that's where the Bills are right now. And I think it serves them well against Pittsburgh today. Speaking of serving us well, thank you very much to my co-host, Jake Micah, your friend, my friend, our friend, Jake Micah, myself, Maniacs. Actually, make sure you're following us both on social platforms. And make sure, of course, you are ordering the best pizza in Western New York at picassospizza.net. Let's beat the Steelers. Let's go 1-0, and let's go Bills.